Welcome in to the 18th episode of Women's Basketball Now, here on the Hoop Central YouTube channel. We thank you as always for taking the time to join us and watch here today. This is Hamilton Neal joining you as always. Very excited, per usual, for what we have on this episode. We're going to be first going over the 2022 Women's Basketball Coaches Association High School Coaches All-American team, released back just over a week ago. You have a couple of UConn signees, a couple of Oregon State signees. On this list, you have Lauren Betts, headed to Stanford. She is actually the High School Player of the Year for the WBCA. Again, we'll go over all of that coming up in just a moment. We'll then, in our second portion of this show, go over some transfer news. We'll talk about Virginia Tech's Ayanna Baines going to Seton Hall. We'll talk about Shalexxus Aaron headed to Oregon State from Texas Southern. And then we'll talk about Gianna Cunningham going to Alabama from West Virginia. Again, that transfer news coming up just a little bit later. But first, we're going to start by talking about the 2022 Women's Basketball Coaches Association High School All-American team. Every single year, the WBCA hands out tons of these awards, not just with the All-American teams, but with Coach of the Year, obviously Player of the Year. They do the same thing at the collegiate level also. And this was released, again, as I mentioned at the top, just back over a week ago. It's made up of 10 players, led by Lauren Betts, Stanford signee and WBCA High School Player of the Year. Following her on this list are Ayanna Patterson and Brady, signed to UConn, Oregon State signees Timea Gardiner and Raegan, Texas A&M signee Janiah Barker, Kiki Rice signed to UCLA, Justine Pissott signed to Tennessee, Nnaji headed to Arizona, and Chance Gray headed to the University of Oregon. Again, great list. You go down the line, tons of the best high school players throughout the country, going to some of the best college programs in the nation. Again, starting with Lauren Betts, going to Stanford, the High School Player of the Year for the WBCA. This past season, averaged 17.2 points and 11 rebounds. Really skilled at 6'7". You just can't teach that kind of size that she has. Her ability to, at 6'7", back you down and score on the interior, as well as move out to the perimeter, to the mid-range, back out to that three-point line. That's something that she's still developing. That's why she's the number one ranked player in this class of 2022, and was the wire-to-wire number one player in the class of 2022, I might add. Again, you can't teach that 6'7" size. She is still trying to get stronger. I do feel like if she adds some more strength to her game, then she's going to be even harder to stop, because just with her intangibles and what she can do right now, extending her game out to around 18 feet, and obviously playing inside, running the floor, rebounding, playing defense, she is already the most complete player heading into college out of the 2022 class. But if she can add some strength, she's going to be even harder to stop, but already so complete. Can average a double-double this past high school season and was so good. Just a model of consistency all year long. And despite the fact that Kiki Rice played on the number one team in the nation, despite the fact that Ayanna Patterson averaged 25 points per game, they felt like Lauren Betts was the best player to give the Player of the Year award to, just because the model of consistency that she's been. And you could say that for all of these players. And I think that number one ranking helps as well. I think that's something that also kind of went in her favor here in winning this Player of the Year award, but definitely well deserved, no question about it. Now, the pair coming into UConn is really exciting. Brady and Ayanna Patterson. Ayanna Patterson at a Homestead High School in Indiana this past season had a crazy stat line. 25.4 points, 12 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists as well. Really, really consistent playing that wing spot. And I feel like here in this 2022 class, out of the players coming into college, she is the second best player. I know Kiki Rice is ranked number 2 in the ESPN rankings, right behind Lauren Betts, but when you look at Ayanna Patterson and her game and what she has the ability to do, I definitely feel like she's at least the second best, because at that wing spot, she has the size at 6'3" to score on the perimeter, shoot the jump shot, go and hit the mid-range, slash, put her head down, get to the rim. She is a 3-level scorer at that wing position, and that's why she has drawn a lot of comparisons to NaLyssa Smith, now part of the Indiana Fever, star at Baylor for a number of years. She had a very similar style of play coming out of high school and at the college level. 3-level ability, but her power getting to the rim and her ability to get to the free throw line, draw some fouls, that's the most consistent part of her game. Not to mention her ability to pull down some rebounds, again, average 12 this past high school season, rebounding the basketball, running the floor. She has a complete package, and again, is going to be a huge, huge asset for this UConn team. And I think the difference with these two freshmen coming in this year as opposed to other freshmen in other years is that they're so talented, offensively especially, that Gino Auriemma has to put them out on the floor. I don't think he'll have a choice but to play them, especially Ice Brady, because of what she has the ability to do on the inside. Because that's the missing link on UConn's roster, is that player that can consistently pull down rebounds, play with that physicality. I think Brady's going to be that player for them. Averaged 20.6 points and 12.8 rebounds this past season for Cathedral Catholic. Again, that double-double ability, just like Ayanna Patterson, but instead of it being at the 3 spot, it's at the 4 spot, at the forward position. So when you look at her, combining with Aaliyah Edwards, with Amari DeBerry, and with Dorka Juhas, you have 4 really good, skilled post players for the Huskies. So that duo is going to be outstanding. Same thing at Oregon State, with Raegan Beers and Timea Gardiner, both playing on the inside. Gardiner playing that 4 spot, Beers kind of that true center, playing that 5 position. Very physical, can back you down, has the ability to score. Not as versatile as other players, like an Ice Brady, or even say a Janiah Barker, or a Lauren Betts, but has that inside ability, that ability to, again, back you down, put some post moves on you, and score effectively. Same thing with Timea Gardiner, but a lot more athletic and a lot more versatile. Again, similar player to that of Ice Brady, Ayanna Patterson, just again playing that 4 spot, and very much needed help on the interior coming for Oregon State, because they have had players transfer out. Taya Corosdale left, obviously Greta Kampschrader left. They still have Talia Von O'Hoffen at the guard spot. So in the backcourt, they have her to rely on, but losing Kampschrader hurts. Now these two, again, won't be playing in the backcourt, they'll be playing in the post, but any 5-star talent is great talent for Oregon State. And despite the influx of transfers going out, you do have these two coming in. So Scott Rueck has that to feel good about, and we'll talk about Shalexxus Aaron coming in when we talk about the transfers coming over from Texas Southern. But great duo there. It'll be at Oregon State. Janiah Barker going into Texas A&M, top 5 player in the class, and is one of those players that, again, has some of that outside ability, but is very physical on the inside. Needs to improve defensively, needs to improve running the floor a little bit, but I think offensively, just as an interior post presence, she is one of the best in the class. Again, going to Texas A&M, was originally signed to Georgia, but when Joni Taylor left there to go to A&M, she followed along with a couple other players as well. And then you have Kiki Rice, obviously ranked number 2 in the class, headed to UCLA. Really complete guard with her ability to distribute the basketball and score. Out of all point guards in this class, she is the best at finding that balance between assisting and scoring. Her ability to hit the jump shot, but also get to the rim. Her floater game is outstanding. Same thing with Chance Gray, very skilled offensive player. Nnaji playing on the inside there for the Arizona Wildcats, going to give them a great presence there. And then Justine Pissott going to Tennessee. Tennessee has a really good roster heading into the season, and I think, like some of the other players on this All-American team, she will find some playing time early on. So that is the 2022 Women's Basketball Coaches Association High School Coaches All-American team, again led by Stanford signee and Player of the Year Lauren Betts. Now let's go over and wrap up by talking about some transfer news. Obviously, on most of our Women's Basketball Now episodes, we are talking about some player going from one school to the other, and that's more of the same here on this episode. So we're going to start by talking about Virginia Tech transfer Ayanna Baines. She is headed to her 3rd school, and that will be Seton Hall. She started her career at Duke, then went to Virginia Tech, and is now going to Seton Hall. In this past season, averaged 5.2 points and 6 rebounds for Virginia Tech. She had 20 starts, and her career high came against Clemson on February the 8th with 20 points, 10 of 11 shooting from the floor. I think it's going to add a lot of versatility for Seton Hall. They need help in the backcourt and on the wing. Obviously, they've had some good post play recently with Sydney Cooks, but in the backcourt and on the wing, especially on the wing, they need someone who can be kind of a game changer for them, because in the Big East, obviously everybody's chasing UConn, but had they had better backcourt play, I think their record would have been substantially better this year. And she's going to bring some of that to the table. Again, is not a big scorer for them. Only averaged 5 points at VT along with 6 rebounds, but I think she can be a 10-point, 7-rebound kind of player there at Seton Hall, and will provide enough for them to get adequate wing play with everyone else around her. So I'm excited to see what she can do going in there. Obviously, that's a program that's continuing to get a little bit better every single year. And I am excited to see what she can do on her third school, because she was a part of a very big 2019 Duke recruiting class, which kind of fell apart at the seams as just players started to transfer out and everything. And she wasn't the only one to transfer. You had Jennifer Eze go to Missouri State. A couple other players left as well. So a lot of roster turnover there at Duke. You always see that. But she just didn't feel like, especially under the new regime with Carol Lawson, that she was going to be a huge part of things moving forward. Then went to VT and again is now at Seton Hall. So going from the ACC to the Big East. Going to the Pac-12 and Oregon State is Shalexxus Aaron, who started her career at USC and just played recently at Texas Southern. And she is a grad transfer. This past season averaged 12 points, 4.3 rebounds per game in 16 starts, and versus Mississippi Valley State had a stat line of 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists. 5 3-pointers as well. And it's those kind of performances that Oregon State hopes for. Now in the Pac-12, is she going to get 25, 10, and 6? It's going to be a lot harder to do than against Mississippi Valley State. No disrespect. But I do think she can be a double-figure scorer for them. Obviously, with the players that they've had leave, they need someone who can come in and produce. Again, wing and post play is going to be the strong point, I think, of this Oregon State team. Because, yes, they lost Kennedy Brown and Taylor Jones, but you have Beers and Gardiner coming in. Those are young players. And then you have Aaron, who is going to bring that experience, going to bring so much game action with her over to Oregon State. And again, played at USC, started there, and then went over to Texas Southern. And Scott Rueck talked about the fact that they like her game. They like what she can provide along with some of the other young players. Because this is going to be a really, really young basketball team. And not only just with her ability on the floor to lead, but off the floor to lead as well, to bring some of these young players along, that's going to be another huge asset for the Oregon State Beavers coming in. So Shalexxus Aaron going over there to Oregon State, really love the move. And Gianna Cunningham going to Alabama from West Virginia, one of 6 newcomers for Alabama this upcoming season. You have Carly Weathers, a freshman, Georgia Tech transfer Loyal McQueen, Georgia transfer Sarah Ashley Barker, Illinois transfer Ayanna, and Ryan Cobbins, North Dakota State transfer, leading rebounder for North Dakota State this past season. Again, one of 6 newcomers. And we talked about this on a recent episode with Kentucky. They have 10 newcomers for 2022, which is an insane number. Alabama has a similar roster shakeup in that they have a ton of new faces. And I really feel like she could be a player that could produce for them if she's given the opportunity. Because at West Virginia, in her 2 years there, only played in 12 games and averaged 3.5 minutes in 2021, barely got on the floor at all in 2020. So we have not even seen what she's capable of, because West Virginia, they didn't put her out there. They didn't put her in a position to produce. So new school, new opportunity. If she can get 15 minutes a game, she could produce with points and with rebounds. Again, we don't have a whole lot to talk about here with her because there isn't really a body of work to speak of because she hasn't got the opportunity. But I think she is a player we'll be talking about more moving forward. So again, it's going to be very exciting to see what all of these transfers can do. Ayanna Baines going to Seton Hall, Shalexxus Aaron going to Oregon State, and Gianna Cunningham going there to Alabama. So again, that's all the time that we have on this episode of Women's Basketball Now. This was our 18th installment. At the top of the show, we talked about the high school coaches All-American team from the WBCA. We're going to be talking a lot with USA Basketball coming up, with the U18 national team. The coaching staff has been announced. The training camp is coming up late this month into early June as well. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll talk more about that. Anything and everything women's college basketball, we'll have it covered for you. So definitely keep it locked here on Hoop Central. We'll see you on the next episode. This is Hamilton Neal signing off for now. I'll see you then.